The tales of tzaddikim throughout the ages who have confronted God for not coming the aid to his people in their times of terrible distress are many. One particular one stands out above all the others for two reasons. One, for his unusual habit of, during his prayers, during the tefillah, to switch into the vernacular of the day, the Jewish Yiddish, and confront God. And after he had completed, he would revert back to the Hebrew and carry on in his prayers as though he had never stopped. And the second reason is a story that took place on Yom Kippur morning, when he actually walked into the congregation and confronted God before anything else. And this story has come down through the ages, and in 1920s, early 1920s, a very famous composer, Jewish composer, wrote a song based on the story and kept it true to the story. And he called his song Adin Torah mit Gott. And it has become a classic in the Jewish repertoire that many chazunim have sung, both in concert and in shul. And this is the story that I'm going to tell you, and the song. Two lines in the song need a little explanation. The first one is where Reb Levi Yitzchok confronts God at the very beginning and says, Ich him gekommen zu dir mit den Torah von dein Volk Israel, which literally translated is, I have come before you with a din Torah from your people Israel. Now, the words din Torah come from Bet Hadin, which is basically the times when a court, if you like, is convened to hear an accusation against someone who has performed some deed which needs to be judged. And it could have come from the 10 utterances or from the book of Devarim, or for that matter, from anywhere in the Torah. And this particular one, it's interesting because the judges had to judge strictly on Torah, which was rather interesting because it meant that Reb Levi Yitzchok was confronting God with a basis of his own words, and he was using them against him. The second one comes from one of the last lines in the song, and it says, Ich will von Ort nicht weggehen, which literally translated is, I will not move from this place. And the sages have reinterpreted the term, meaning not I will not move from this physical place, but rather I will not change from the position that I have taken for my arguments against you. Now on with the story. On the morning of Yom Kippur, in the town of Berdichev, the congregation had come together for Shacharit, but it had become extremely late, and the Rav was nowhere to be seen. So a tumult in the room came to a point where nobody could even hear themselves think, let alone talk. Suddenly the door to the congregation opened, and there in the doorway stood Rab Levi Yitzchok. For an instant he stood there and then proceeded directly to the Aron HaKodesh, flung open the doors, and stared up into it. The congregation, dumbfounded, immediately fell silent, so much so you could have heard a pin drop. This is what they heard. Guten Morgen, der Boy neu shel Olam. Ich lebe Yitzchok ben Soro mi Barditschew. Bin gekommen zu dem mit den Teure von dein Volk Israel. Was hast du zu dein Volk Israel? Und was hast du sich umgesetzt auf dein Volk Israel? Als wusnere Sach ist Zahl ben Israel. Als wie nur a Kuk is Emor ben Israel. Als wusnere Wort is da ben Israel. Toten como es beolam. Parsaim, Bavlaim, Adomaim. Die Engländer versuchen sehr Malchus is a Malchus. Die Italiener versuchen sehr König is a König. Und ich lebe Yitzchok ben Soro, mi Barditschew zug, HaMelech, HaYoshev, Al Kiserom v'Nisa. Und ich lebe Yitzchok ben Soro, mi Barditschew zug, lo elech man koin moi, ich will von Ort nicht weggehen und an Exodus nehmen und as Sof soll schön sein. O Yiskadal, Ve'yiskadash, Shemeh